welcome to this brand new episode of The Cover, a show where we share a sneak peek of the latest Business Today magazine with all our viewers. I'm Sakshi Batra, and with me on this show, I have with me Krishna Gopalan joining in, Executive Editor of Business Today magazine.
Right.
Also joining in is Ashish Rukhaiyar, Senior Associate Editor of the Business Today magazine, and our correspondent Rajat Mishra also joins right in, who will all be discussing the cover story and the other important stories that you can expect to find in this issue. Welcome, everybody, and thank you so much for taking the time out for this discussion. And now to showcase the first glimpse of the magazine, which is a family business special to all our viewers. Well, you can definitely see the next gen all set to take the reins of the biggest family businesses in India, including the Reliance Group, the Adani Group, Wipro, you have the Jindals as well. So, Krishna, let me kickstart with you. Now, we all know how in India's overall growth story, a large contribution has actually been made by the India's business families in the last 75 years of independence that we constantly are talking about. Help us and all our viewers really understand a bit about how the family businesses in India have evolved, both if you talk about the pre 1991 period and the post 1991 period, because that is when the economy really got liberalized. So, what has really changed in these two periods?
It's actually nice to be here at the outset. This was really an interesting issue to work on because when we speak of next gen, we decided to have a cutoff in terms of people should have spent not more than 10 to 15 years in the business. So the whole idea was to capture a good cross section of the audience across industries. 1991 remains a defining point, or if I may say so, to quote some of the people we got in touch with, it's an inflection point as far as Indian business is concerned. And there's a very clear reason for it. From a societal point of view, I think there was a clear mindset that there was a sense of unacceptability, if I may use the word, as far as Indian business was concerned. It was still a very lala kind of a way of doing work in that sense. 1991 brought in a situation where we're exposed to market forces. The sense of merit took off in a big way. Pre 1991 was all about who you knew, and 1991 and the period beyond that was completely led by merit. So it was all about your competence. It's about the fact that you had so much of intelligence at your level, your ability to raise capital and reach out to markets in India and overseas.
Very
So
true.
to that extent, I think the whole transformation, the maturity, or the metamorphosis, if I may say so, took place as far as family businesses are concerned. I just want to
Right.
bring up one point here. A family business on its own is not a concept unique to India. You have it in the
Yeah.
US, you have it in Germany, every part of the world. As we discovered, and this is a bit of an interesting insight, what we
Yeah,
discovered in the case
absolutely.
of India is this is perhaps the only country in the world where we have the concept of a joint family.
Yes.
So people live
Yes.
together and they end up working together. In countries like Italy, families will work together, but they never live together.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
made the whole thing
Very
very
true.
interesting.
Next gen of family businesses now moving into the corner offices, taking the reins. Talk to us about this transformation as well. How well are they also adapting to this new India that we are facing right here?
It's a most interesting thing. What's happened is the new generation, for them to go overseas to study, to pick up a degree in engineering or
Yeah.
an MBA or a law degree, is pretty much par for the course now. Because if you look at family businesses across India today, the next gen
Mm.
is not just dedicated; they've also worked
Mm.
overseas for a few years before coming back to take charge of the family business. So
Right.
the whole perception, the whole business approach they bring to the table is remarkably different from what one or two or three generations ago, or even 2 decades ago, to
Right.
that extent. Even.
Right.
So to use the word, I mean, you had a traditional, conservative, and an Indian business that could not think scale because we didn't have the global exposure. That lacuna is completely taken care of by the current generation. So when
Absolutely.
they come with a certain sense of confidence, a global exposure, and they speak a global business language that all of us can relate to. So the ability to
Mm.
attract talent, think big, is something they've really succeeded as far as going about a family business is concerned.
From family businesses, now let's talk about family offices. Now, Ashish has written a very interesting story on this. First up, Ashish, help all our viewers really understand what exactly are family offices all about. I mean, I'm hearing this phrase for the first time. Usually, for family offices, one would believe that, family businesses would occupy the family offices, but that's clearly not it.
Simply put, a family office is kind of a private company or a structure which helps manage and invest a family's wealth. So, I mean, some of the biggest, wealthiest, richest families of India have a family office right now. whether it
Okay.
is Azim Premji, whether it is Narayan Murthy, the Mariwala, the Burman family, the
Right.
Patnis. I mean, you name and they have a family office. And I mean, when we are doing this story and we are talking to a lot of industry participants, experts, they said that family office has emerged as a very efficient way of managing and investing the family wealth. And as Krishna also referred to, that this is not it's something which is unique to India. So globally also,
Mm.
if you see, whether it is Amazon's Jeff Bezos or Google's Sergey Brin, they all have a family office, and the kind of wealth
Right.
that the global family office manages much more than what the Indian family office manages. The trend is new to India, but it's not like it suddenly emerged in the last couple of years. It has been there for
But how
quite a
is it
few
more
years.
efficient? How does a family
So,
office really help the wealthy families invest their wealth in a better way compared to, hiring somebody from outside?
so for that, let's quickly understand the structure of a family office. Now, there are based on the structure, we can differentiate or classify these family offices in two, three different categories. One is a single family office where the wealth of a single family would be managed by, say, a professional CEO.
Right.
The family office
Right.
might have a professional CEO. The family member might be there, but
Mm.
the final decisions might be taken by a professional CEO who would be having an expertise in investments. Then you
Mm.
have a family office that is headed by a family member, and it has a investment team, in-house investment team. And then there are these large number of smaller family offices who deal with multiple wealth managers or investment advisors. So
Mm.
broadly, there are these three categories of family office, depending on the kind
Okay.
of wealth that they have. One unique thing about, or the biggest advantage of a family office is how it helps to manage and invest your wealth, ring fence it against, say, for instance, in future there might be claims by, say, I mean, any kind of claim. So
Mm.
a family office helps these business families ring fence their certain assets from future such kind of claims, whether it is, say,
Right.
for instance, in time, in there could be related to corporate development, it could be tax or anything, any
Right.
dispute. So these family office kind of offers a very efficient structure of managing, investing, and ring fencing your family wealth.
Okay. So could you also help us understand what are some of the new investment trends you are witnessing in this family office space? Where are they investing?
So see, traditionally, real estate, listed securities, they have been an all-time favorite, and they still continue to be the favorite investment
Okay.
avenues or categories for these family offices. But again, I mean, the point that Krishna also made, the next gen of business families, they have gone overseas. They are educated in overseas universities. Their
Yes.
investment approach, perception is very different from the earlier generation. So off late, we
So
are
are
seeing a
they
lot
interested
of
in cryptos and these NFTs and these new forms of
Exactly,
investing, I
exactly,
guess?
exactly. You got it right, Sakshi. So,
Okay.
and not just NFTs and cryptos, whether it is
Yeah.
startups, whether it is unlisted
Yeah.
securities, global diversification, and not in just terms of global listed companies, even in terms of commodities, currencies. So, the next gen, in fact, we spoke to one of the biggest multifamily office in the country, and they said that the next generation is open to taking much higher amount of risk in terms of investments. So
Yeah.
NFTs, crypto startups, unlisted securities. Now there was a recent report which said that by 2025, the contribution of family office in
Mm.
startup investments would be as high as $30 billion, and
Wow.
it's I mean,
Okay.
it's not a small amount. So some of the trends that I said, real estate and traditional businesses are always there. Those are like the
Right.
evergreen choices. But of late, we are seeing the emergence of these new alternative, for instance, alternative investments. The new generation is much more open and interested in alternative investment in terms of ESG, sustainability, climate issues. So if
Yes.
you see, off late, we are seeing a large spurt, a huge spurt in investments, or at least inquiries about investing the family wealth in these new age investment avenues as well.
Absolutely, a much wider diversification that we are really looking at from family business wealth actually going in. That's an also interesting trend to really find out where are the wealthiest really investing. So very, very fascinating read right there. Rajat, let me come to you. Interestingly, now you've written something that you've experienced firsthand, of how should we understand as a cargo's journey. You track the journey of a consignment in Ludhiana, in the top cities like Mumbai as well, and you've actually come to know about Where does this consignment go? What are the issues that exporters face as well? So, in the light of the last few years, when we've seen a whole lot of export oriented reforms, the government's focus as well, what has been the impact so far? And also the challenges right here in front of the exporters, too, if you could share.
So, hi Sakshi, thank you for having me here. So, basically, the story that your cargo journey, we know that the government is putting a lot of focus on boosting exports, and we have a
Yes.
target of reaching $1 trillion by 2030. So, and
Mm.
on also MSMEs has a very important role to play as far as exports growth in the country is concerned. So, basically,
Right.
we track the consignment from Ludhiana, which is an export hub as far as ready-made garments export or hosiery export is concerned. So, we track the consignment from the factory to the port, and we try to understand what are the challenges. So also as far as our experience and tracking the consignment is concerned, the thing that has come out is that in the backdrop of the export oriented reform, there are day to day challenges that are
Mm.
bothering the exporters. From the, for example, the server is down, technical server of the website IceGate, which is a portal, which is down. That's why there is a delay in GST refund, there is a delay in drawback duty refund, there is a delay in
Right.
ROSCTL refund. So these are the day to day problems that exporters has to grapple with. But the majority of reforms as far as digitization has happened, that are helping them in a very big way, and the documentation red tapeism has reduced to a large extent.
Right. So, what is the way forward for exporters right here? What can we really expect going forward? Are these challenges going to get, resolved very, very soon? Are there consultations happening? What are you really gathering there?
So we spoke to a lot of MSMEs bodies and exporters bodies. So what sense we got so far is that they are constantly in touch with the government as to what things needs to be fixed as of now. But
Hmm.
since I have already told you that a lot of big reforms have already taken place
Yeah.
as far as digitization, documentation has happened. So these day-to-day challenges are being addressed by the government, and also going forward, we need to understand the kind of the challenges that they are facing is a pandemic-induced challenges, whether it's
Right.
a container shortage or the shipping charges have gone exponentially. So I think that is not something that the government can control. But as far as day-to-day challenges are concerned, the bodies are constantly in touch with the government.
Okay, understood that. Well, thank you so much, Krishna, Ashish, Rajat, for sharing all these insights about these wonderful stories that make this newest issue absolutely delectable read as well. Thank you so much for being with us. And with that, I really wish and hope that all of you viewers would definitely go out there on the stands and grab your copies, because this is a must read. You don't want to miss this one. Thank you so much for being with us.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.